Let's go. We're starting. Rabotai, we're starting Daf Lamed Hey. Today's Daf is a very, very important Daf with hashlachot that are nogea to everything. So the Gemara says we're in the middle of a mahloket what the time of Ben Hashemashot is. We said yesterday that Rabbah holds that Ben Hashemashot starts right away at Sheki'ah and lasts for tlat riv'i mila, for 3/4 of a meal, which is 3/4 of, according to us, 18 minutes, 13 and a half minutes. Rav Yosef says that Ben Hashemashot starts a minute and a half after Sheki'ah, and therefore it starts at, and it lasts for 12 minutes, ending at the same time, technically 13 and a half minutes. We'll see later on the page why exactly we're not relying on 13 and a half minutes, Bizman Hazeh, where we are. That's the Gemara. So the Gemara says, Ika benayu palga, starting on the top, palga de danka, v'hilufa b'hala. So it comes out that by Ben Hashemashot, Rabbah says 3, and Rav Yosef says 2. Rabbah says 3/4, Rav Yosef says 2/3, right? So again, you got to remember the way things work. Then everything was memorization. So I got to remember that Rabbah holds 3 parts, and Rav Yosef holds 2 parts, and then you'll figure out what type of parts they are. Not now. Later, another time. Not right now. Maybe later on, and later in the page we can talk about that. Right now, we got to get this point down. Ready? The Amar Rabbah. So now we're going to flip it to remember the argument by Muktzeh. V'hilufa b'halta. Halta is a big basket, a big container. V'hilufa, they have opposite positions by halta. But again, you see, remember we spoke the other day about the importance of phrasing things for memorization. Over here, they're doing it again. They're giving you a siman to understand how to memorize, not to get mixed up. The Amar Rabbah, halta bat tere kure shari litaltule. Rabbah says, if you have a container that holds 2 kur, a kur is a very big measurement. A kur itself is the size of 2/3 of a mikveh. A mikveh is 40 se'ah, kur is 30 se'ah. It's 3/4 of a mikveh. Afilu kurayin we had before. Right? Halta bat tere kure, the size of 2 kurs, shari l'tiltula, you're allowed to carry it. What's the problem with carrying it? At a certain point, we're going to assume that the item gets too big for normal movement. You don't normally move it around. And they're assuming, huh? Good question. I don't know. But at a certain point, we assume it gets too big to normally move. And because you're not going to normally move it, so that's, Muktzeh is something that you're assumed to move before, that you're assumed that you're going to move it. So that's not Muktzeh. It's Omed little tool. Something that we don't assume that you're going to move is not Omed little tool. But let's say I could move it. But normally I wouldn't. If I try, I'll bring 10 people and we'll carry it, okay? 10 people, 15 people, we could pick up the car. But we're 10 people. But in your brain, you don't think you're moving a car and you don't think you're moving this item. But let's say I got the 10 people. Could I move it or not? That's really what's boiling down to, right? So now, on a regular day, I didn't plan on moving anything. It's not, and nobody thinks about moving a kur. Is that okay? So Rabbah says that 2 kur, shari l'taltule, you could still move it. But talata kure, 3 kurs, asul l'taltula, you're not allowed to move it. But Rav Yosef Amar, Rav Yosef says, but talata kure nami shari, 3 kurs, you could also move it. But arba'a kure asur, 4 kur, you're not allowed. So again, you have, the same sevara. At a certain point, he feels it becomes too big to carry. But the mahloket is where that cutoff line is. Each one applied it the way he saw it. 2 or 3. No, sorry, 2 is mutar, 3 is asur, 3 is asur, 3 is mutar, 4 is asur. Now, Rabbah, who by Ben Hashemashot said 3 meal, over here says 2 kur is mutar. Rav Yosef, who by Ben Hashemashot said 2/3, over here he says 3 is mutar. Right? So that's the siman to remember who says what. Amar Abaye ba'amine demor b'shat ma'aseh. The ma'aseh came to me to ask Rav Yosef. I think he's talking about Rav Yosef. No, he asked from Rabbah. Rabbah is his Rabbi. But I mean, the more. I asked Rabbah, B'shad ma'aseh, v'afilu bat tereh kure lo sharili. And even 2 kurs he wasn't matir for me. Why? He's the guy that says it's mutar. Yeah, that was what he thought theoretically. But l'ma'aseh, no. Kehai tana, like this tana, the tanan, kaveret akash v'kaveret akanim, ubor sfina alexandrit. These are big containers. So kaveret is a basket, hakash, that you keep straw in, v'kaveret akanim, and a big basket that you keep twigs in, ubor sfina alexandrit. Rashi says, sfina gedola, it's a very big ship, sheporshim ba liyam gadol, that they would go sailing in the Mediterranean. So so even though you're in the middle of water everywhere, but not a bit to drink, because the water is all salt water, right? Ve'osim kli gadol kemim bor, so they make a very big reservoir. Ve'nodnim letocho ma'im yafim, and you fill it up with sweet water, right? So yeah, it's the reservoir for the ship, right? Kaveret akash ve'kaveret akanim ubor sfin Alexandri. Even though they have a bottom, so they hold things. So they hold 40 sa'ah of liquids. 40 sa'ah is the shear of a mikveh. And the Chachamim tell us that amount, the volume, the size of that, is 1 amah by 1 amah by 3 amot tall. So it's 3 cubic amot. Right? That's the size. And when you make that in the average size keli, Shem kurayim biyavesh. Right? If you fill it up with water, if I fill up this cup with water, I'm going to fill. If it's 8 ounces, I'll get exactly 8 ounces. If I fill it up with something solid, I get a little, I get a, whatever whatever it's called. You get the fact that it's overflowing. You get the heap. Right? So when you have a heaping tablespoon, depending on how wide your tablespoon is, it could be double almost. Right? When you get a heaping, when you have the bor sfina Alexandri, it's not going to be tall or narrow. It's going to be average proportions, right? When that bor is average proportions and you heap it, you get an extra third. Shehem kurayim shehem mem se'ah is a kur and a third, right? Every kur is 30 se'ah. So mem se'ah, 40 se'ah, is 1 kur 30 plus a third of a kur, which is 10, right? So now, that's tahor. That's tahor. What does it mean it's tahor? It's not mekabel tumah. Why is it not mekabel tumah? Because we learn, Rashi will tell us, tehorim, di'it kash kli etz lesak. When the Torah talks about a keli being mekabel tumah, it says, o etz o sak. A sak, they used to make sacks from goat hair. It's a rough thing that's like the burlap that we have now. Similar type of field that they would get from it, right? Sakim are made to be moved. So you don't make a sack so big that you can't move it. You make it of a size that when it's full you can move it. So we say, ma sak metaltel ma leverekan, just like a sack. You could carry it full and you could carry it empty. Af kol, so too kle'etz. When we're talking that a kle'etz is mekabel tumah, it's a kle'etz that's metaltel ma'leverekan. It's a kle'etz that you can move it when it's full and when it's empty. So you have a crate, at a certain point that you could be metaltel it. Once it gets too big, you have a big armoire. If you fill it up, you can't move it, right? Even the moving guys, these guys are big guys, they empty it before they move it. So the armoire is not mekabel tumah. Why? Because it's not metaltel ma'leverekan. So too, this bor sfina Alexandrit, once it gets to 40 sa'ah, we assume you can't move it full. It's tahor, right? But we're gonna cross the lines over here. So that's right now. That's what we're saying. We're saying from the fact that it's tahor. Why is it tahor? What's the criteria for something being tahor that you can't move it full, right? If you can't move it full, it's going to be tahor. So now if I take that same criteria and apply it to muktzeh, can't move it. So it should be muktzeh. It's still tahor. The criteria of tahor is No. If this keli can't be moved full, it's tahor all the time. In order to be tameh, it has to be metaltel maleh Virekan. You have to be able to move it when it's empty, which is easy, and when it's full. And if you can't move it full, I don't care if it's full or empty right now. It's tahor. Now, when I move the same thing over to muktzeh, anything that I won't be able to move, at this point the Gemara assumes, is going to be muktzeh, because it's not in my mind to move it. So therefore, Rabbah, when it came to Ma'aseh, he was mahmir already. Once it's above, once you get to two kur, he's ready too much. It's above 40 se'ah. It's not. Yes, but only certain things are mikabel tumah. Only certain things are able to mikabel tumah. The things that are mikabel tumah are the things that are useful for people. Hashem decreed these things because they're within the realm of people are mikabel tumah. If you can't move it full, Hashem says those things are not mikabel tumah. That's the way it is. That's the Torah. We learn it from the Torah. It says sak or etz. Sak is metaltel ma leverekam. Etz is metaltel ma leverekam. If you have somebody that's you have a met.
So it has nothing to do with the actual
If you
with the purpose that it's our purpose.
It's complicated, but there's certain things that Hashem says could Tumah attaches to them. There's certain things that Hashem says Tumah doesn't attach to them. If the Tumah doesn't attach to them, I don't care if you put the met with a goy, with avodah zarah, with nida, and you put them all in a cocktail and you smear it all over. It's not going to be mikabel Tumah.
But it's not the physicality of the item that's making it mikabel Tumah. It's the purpose that it's being used for.
Sometimes it's whatever it says in the Torah. That's what it is. So you want the philosophy. This is not the class for the philosophy at the point. It's too intense. Right now we know one rule: metaltel ma leverekan, moves full and empty. Let's go. So the Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Shma Mina. So that's a separate point. L'maaseh, the poskim all say that we don't hold like this shita of these two of Rabbah and Rav Yosef, because we have another Gemara that says that later Rabbi said that there was a beam that they used to use to lock the door, and they needed 10 people to move it, and it wasn't muktzeh. You can move it on Shabbat. So you see that the later Emoraim felt that no, once it's a keli, once it's meant to be used, as big as it is, so I'll bring more people and I'll move it. It's always considered within the realm of possibility. So even though Rabbah and Rav Yosef both say that there comes a certain point that something is too big and it's muktzeh, halacha l'ma'aseh, the Rif is posek, based on the Gemara later that says no matter how big it is, as long as it's something that's useful, it's a keli, Torat keli alav, it's not muktzeh. Let's continue. Amar Abaye says, Shma Mina, we learn from this Mishnah that says that if it's 40 belach, if it's 40 liquid, it could carry 60 of yavesh, of dry measure. Shma Mina haigucha tilta. The heap on top of an average dimension keli is a third. Because you got an extra 20 out of 40 is a third of the final number.
Is that the reason why they mentioned that it has flat bottom? Like, what's the significance?
No, I'll appreciate lo shulayim. Because it didn't have a shilayim, it's not going to be mikabel tumah anyway.
Wouldn't that have to do with
The shape.
the length and the height? And
That's why I said an average dimension, meaning when it's average proportion. Of course,
it's very tall.
100%, it's going to have a much less of a what's it called? 100%. Average dimensions. No question that if you make it strange, it could do anything. If you make it really wide, you could quadruple it, right? Okay. The Gemara says, Amar Abaye. So we said yesterday, like this: Kol zman shepnei mizrach ma'adimim. As long as the face of the east is red, that it's either, according to Rav Yosef, that's still daytime, and according to Rabbah, that's also part of Ben Hashemashot, right? Yesterday I was on the train. I got stuck on the bridge. So I was watching, it was 4:35. I'm looking out, that's sunset. So I'm looking east and toward the west, gorgeous. The whole west is bright red. It was magnificent. The sun is there burning and the whole red. It was a gorgeous day. I looked to the east. No, there was a faint, like a pinkish almost, little orangey pinky on the bottom. Very faint. The other side is like a projector, it's fire, and the other side is like a
west side?
The west side is gorgeous. It's bright orange, burning. And the east side, there's like a faint reflection of the red that's on the west. So let's see the Gemara now. Amar Abaye.
The reason why the train stopped.
Hazir, that's right. That explained why I was stuck on the bridge. The next hour and a half, I need someone to explain me. Abaye, Hazir le Rava. He saw Rava dehave kadavi lema'arav. He was looking. He was contemplating on the west to see if the sun set or whatever. Amar le, he told him v'hatanya kozman shepnei mizrach ma'adimim. We learned in the Braita as long as the east is red. So what are you looking at the west for? You should be looking at the east. Amar le mi savar, do you think Panim is Rach Mamash? That it means the east? No. Panim ha-ma'adimim et ha-mizrach. As long as the face, the side that reddens the east is red. Which is a very, like this type of way of saying it. Right? It's Panim ha-ma'adimim et ha-mizrach. The face that makes the east red. That's what he says. Ike da Amri, others say, Rava, Hazil Abaye de Kadavi Mizrach. He saw Abaye looking to the east. Amalei told him, Mi Savar Pene Mizrach Mamash. Do you think it means the east? Panim Amadimim ta Mizrach. V'simanech kavta. Like a window, just like a window. When the sun is shining in from the window, it lights up the wall opposite. So to over here, you got to look over here to see how much it's going to light up the wall opposite. Now the Mefarshim discuss, the Maharam particularly, he says, I don't understand. So what's the criteria? Is the criteria as long as the west is red or the east is red? He says if the criteria is as long as the west is red, so what do you mention the east for at all? Just say as long as the west is red. And if the criteria is the east, meaning as long as the west, which is the source of the red, is causing the east to be lit up red, so say as long as the east is lit up red. Why is he looking in the west for? Because I would assume, we didn't stay on the bridge that long yesterday, but assuming, I could have because anyway I didn't get home for a long time, but assuming that the west is going to stay red a lot longer than the east, right? Because it gets to a point that it's not intense enough on the west to light up the east, but it's still red on the west side, right? So if the criteria is the west, so then just tell me the west. Why do you tell me east? The sign that lights up the east must be because it says as long as the east is still red from the west, then I care. And once the east is not red from the west, then even though the west still has red, it's not red enough to make a difference, right? So why mention the east? So you might as well just mention the east again. Why tell me the west when the criteria is in the east? So he said it could be that on a normal day this is west enough, this is red enough to light up the east, but because of whatever problem, it's cloudy, it's this, it's that, something or other, you might not see it all the time in the east. So it's a very complicated criteria, but it's the amount that normally lights up the west, that lights up the east on the west. But if you know how, at what point it stops lighting up the east on a regular day, then it's better for you to look at the east, because sometimes when you look at, I don't know what I'm talking about, right? Again, right? If you know the normal situation, meaning at what point, at what stage of unredness the west stops causing the east to be red, then it's better for you to look at the west, because you're looking directly at the cause. Whereas sometimes you could be looking at the east, it won't be red, but it's not red because of atmospheric thing. It's cloudy over here. It's this. It's that. It's dusty. It could be anything, right? So even though the final call is really when the east stops lighting up red, but sometimes on some days that's going to be interfered with. So therefore, so you look at the west, you're looking at the source, but I got to judge on the west the amount of redness that will cause on a normal day the east to be red.
But all this having to do with why we want to know the benefit?
Because I want to know what. It depends. According to the truth is, according to Rabbah, I don't know why you would have to look there, because Ben Hashemashot starts already from the beginning of that. According to Rav Yosef, Ben Hashemashot doesn't start until the east stops being red. In order to know when Ben Hashemashot either starts or part of it.
Because we want to know
when Shabbat starts, ends, that kind of stuff. Go to the mikveh, yeah.
This is when we want to know when it's day, when it's night.
Yes.
And when it's twilight zone.
Right. Ben Hashemashot is twilight.
As the redness goes, as the sun sets, does the light, as the redness of the sky go like this? Does it diminish? There's never red on the top. Never red on the top. You always have red intense on the bottom of the west and faint on the bottom of the east. You know, they don't take pictures of that redness on the east because it's.
I can't find it. I'm trying to find it.
Rabbi, last year, Tiberia.
Yeah.
Tiberia, I did the Baroness, hotel next to it. I woke up 6 in the morning, you see the sun.
Oh, wait, no, when the sun goes up, it's red on the east. Gorgeous. Magnificent.
I have the picture, I was
Are they right now carving out what defines day and night, or was it carved out from before and there?
No, it was carved out before. They're just interpreting.
They're just interpreting.
Yeah, for sure. It's not a new thing. They didn't have it all of a sudden. They decided they need to know day and night. They're quoting Tanaim. They're explaining what the Tanaim say. They're explaining earlier positions.
And how did the Tanaim know what was day and night?
Traditions.
Tradition, or was it?
Can't say. I there's sources. I can't say for sure exactly what the machlokets are based on. I don't know. Let's continue. Now, Tosafot. Oh, well, let's go further. We'll come back to Tosafot. Rabbi Nehemiah says, we have a lot of problems on this page. Rabbi Nehemiah says, Kadesh Yalech Adam, a person should go Mishitishka Hama from sunset, Hatzi meal, half a meal, which we said is between 9 and 12 minutes. Amar Rabbi Hanina, Harotze Leda Shi'uro Shel Rabbi Nehemiah. If you want to know what's Rabbi Nehemiah's amount of time, go Hatzi meal. What's so complicated? Yaniah Hama Berosh HaKarmel. Leave the sun when it's on the top of Hara Carmel, right? To the best of our knowledge, Hara Carmel is in Haifa. You've been to Haifa? How tall is Hara Carmel? How long does it take to go down from the top to the bottom? Running. How long?
Maybe 20-something minutes.
20-something minutes. I'll go in trouble. Right? Yaniah Hama Berosh HaKarmel.
It shouldn't be 20 minutes.
Listen. Leave the Hama on the top of the Carmel. V'yered, go down. V'yitbol bayam, dip in the Mediterranean. V'yaleh, and go back up. V'zeu shi'uro shel Rabbi Nehemiah. I don't know. That's what I was arguing with the rabbi this morning. He tells me, Carmel, till you go up, till you go down. It's an hour up. It's a big mountain. I said, what do you want from the guy? I don't know what the Gemara is talking about then. Unless you know that he's not going from the top of the Carmel. He's standing somewhere near the ocean, right? And he sees the sun on the top of Hara Carmel. He goes into the ocean and he comes back out, and that takes him 9 minutes, and then Ben Hashemashot is over. Hard to say.
Why can't, when it says Yana Hama b'Har Karmel, maybe it's when the Hama itself is.
That's what Rashi says. No problem. No problem. Oh, very good. Well, Rashi says like you, Eli. Rashi says Carmel, Har, it's a mountain. She'al Sfat Hayam, that's by the ocean. V'Hama Samuch Lishkiata, the sun before it sets. Nir'it al Rashi Harim. You could see it on the top of the mountains. Ubichdeh. No, this is Shkia.
Shkiat's on the ocean. What do you? The Shkiat's on the ocean.
It's on the wrong side. See, if he's on the top of this, so then maybe it means something else. Maybe it means when he's on the top of the mountain, he sees the sun even further because he's higher. That's Hara Carmel? That's not Hara Carmel, is that? Hara Carmel, Mil Haifa.
It's the whole town around.
The whole town is built on Hara Carmel. Right?
The winery.
You from near the foot of Mount Carmel on Haifa.
How should I tell you? I don't know.
Okay, one second.
That one doesn't take 2 minutes to run down, Bobby. Har she'al svat hayam. So maybe he's standing on the top of the mountain. It's not the first time I read this Gemara. Years and years and years. I don't think I ever understood it. I don't know exactly what to do with the Carmel. There's a bigger problem in this Gemara. Ready? Jack is going to go crazy. Let's listen to the next Gemara. Amar Rabbi Chia, harotze lirot be'era shel Miriam. Where's be'era shel Miriam, Jack? No. Everybody knows where. It's in the Kinneret. Okay. Hazal Baruch. The be'era shel Miriam is where? In the Kinneret. Everybody knows the story with the rabbi, and he went, and he got angry, and the thing, and everybody knows the story. Okay. Right? Ya'aleh harotze lirot be'era shel Miriam. So you go up to Kever Rabbi Akiva. No. Ya'aleh lirosh haKarmel. V'yitzapeh v'yireh kemin kivra bayam. You'll see like a basket in the sea. V'zuhi be'era shel Miriam. I'm asking you, Jack. You're the Israeli guy here. Yeah, so now I don't know what that was.
I don't know how high they are. It's terrible.
Right? Could you see from Haifa to Kinneret?
No way.
From the type of Carmel. So to me, either I don't know what they're calling Carmel, or I don't know, or Be'era shel Miriam is not in the Kinneret. One of the two.
Or the Kinneret was very big. Then. The Kinneret went down.
I don't know. So I'm at a loss to explain these two pieces together. I don't know exactly what they want from Rabbi Nehemiah. What are they trying to tell you? Tosafot seems to say that the Hidush you could get, if Yaniyah Hama Berosh Carmel, you could get into the ocean before Ben HaShemashot starts. So really the Gemara is telling you when Rabbi Nehemiah's Ben HaShemashot starts. And it's the same as Rabbi Yehuda's Ben HaShemashot, meaning it starts at Shkia or slightly after. What? Is what? Yeah. There is no Ben HaShemashot in the morning. There's only Ben HaShemashot in the evening. In the morning, it's as soon as you have dawn, it's morning. We don't pray yet. We try and pray after sunrise. It's not impossible. That's a fact. But halachically, the criteria is different. We'll talk about it soon. So be patient and we'll talk about it. I saw you, meaning you're telling me a different Carmel? Yes. Okay, Hazal Baruch. That's what I said. We're going to talk about the morning. Yes. We learn Masechet Berachot. We'll talk about it after. We're going to review the whole Masechet Berachot, not right now. Let's go. What? Okay, talk to him. Amar Rabba, Amar Shmuel. Ben HaShemashot Rabbi Yehuda, Kohanim Tov Limbo. So we know the rule is like this. From the first Mishnah Berachot we said that Mesha'asha Kohanim Nechnasim Lecho Betrumatan. The Kohanim, they have to go to the mikveh in the daytime, and then they have to wait until Tzet HaKochavim, and then they get to eat. So you have to dip in the day, and then it has to become night, and then all your tumah went away. Right? The tumah goes away in stages. When you dip, certain amount of tumah leaves. You become a tvul yom. When at the night, by Tzet HaKochavim, the residual tumah clears. Right? So now, but if I dip at night, then I got to wait till the next day. If I dip Ben HaShemashot, so I don't know if I dipped in the day or the night, misafek, I got to wait till the next day. So in order to be able to eat terumah tonight, the Kohen has to make sure he gets into the mik before Ben HaShemashot, right? Wait the Ben HaShemashot period, and eat at night. That's clear. Those are the ground rules. Says the Gemara, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Ben HaShemashot, Rabbi Yehuda. In Rabbi Yehuda, what Rabbi Yehuda classifies as Ben HaShemashot, Kohanim Tov Limbo. The Kohanim can go to the mikveh. Liman, according to who? Ilem a Rabbi Yehuda. If you can tell me Rabbi Yehuda holds the Kohanim could go to the mikveh in his own ben hashemashot, sveikahu. You're not sure if you dipped in the day or the night. Ela ben hashemashot Rabbi Yehuda, did Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, who says ben hashemashot keheref ayin. So for him, the whole time of Rabbi Yehuda's ben hashemashot is still daytime, and the Kohanim could go. Right? Kohanim tovlim bo pshita, of course. What's the chidush? The Yossi says there's only a small 30-second ben hashemashot. The rest of the time is day. Says no. Mao de teima I might have thought ben hashemashot Rabbi Yossi mei shachshayach b'Rabbi Yehuda is sometime during the Rabbi Yehuda ben hashemashot to Rabbi Yossi's. Kamash malan. Shmuel is teaching us the shalim ben hashemashot Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda's ben hashemashot finishes. His 13.5 minutes finish. The hadar matchil ben hashemashot Rabbi Yossi, and after that Rabbi Yossi's ben hashemashot starts. So according to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda's whole ben hashemashot, the 13.5 minutes is all day, and his ben hashemashot starts at 13.5 minutes. You have around 30 seconds. At 14 minutes, you clear. Amar Rabba Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda le'inyan Shabbat, v'halacha ke Rabbi Yossi le'inyan teruma. Says we don't have a clear psak. Legabe Shabbat, we hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Legabe teruma, we hold like Rabbi Yossi. So what are you talking about? Right? Says the Gemara, Bishlama halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda le'inyan Shabbat le'humra. That what? That once his starts, you can't do melacha anymore. Safek Shabbat, Safek Karet. Ela aval le'inyan teruma mahi. What do I mean by teruma? Ilay meletivila. If you're telling me that what? The Kohanim could still dip during Rabbi Yehuda's ben hashemashot for teruma, sveikahi, that's a safek. Ela la'achila teruma, for eating teruma. Do lo achli kohanim teruma, the kohanim cannot eat teruma. Ad shalim ben hashemashot Rabbi Yossi. Till Rabbi Yossi's ben hashemashot is finished. So they can't just wait 13.5 minutes, they have to wait the extra 30 seconds. Yes?
Why is it that the Kohanim have a waiting period that's in the day and wait until the night, and women just dip at night and they don't wait at all?
Because women, when it comes to women, they could be tameh. They just have to get the gross tumah off. They don't need to find the tumah off. Good. So we say, if women want to eat terumah, they gotta wait. But they, to be with their husband, if she's married to a kohen, she could. You think the kohanim party and they leave the wives inside, right? No, the kohen eats and his wife eats too.
Yeah, but
Daughters too.
So the woman is obligated to the same laws. They have to dip in the mikveh as well.
Yeah.
In addition to the mikveh, they have
Yeah.
mikveh for.
They'll have mikveh plenty then. Everybody's going to be going to mikveh a lot more. When you see Mashiach coming, get in the mikveh business. Right? But what? Of course. Same thing. Yes. Yes. So that Tosfot says you could have said Shabbat both ways or Terumah both ways. It's just easier to do it like this. Here, look at Tosfot Hikshar of Pora. The B'Shabbat Kufa Ave Matzi Lemin Katalacha Kirbi Yudah Be'erev Shabbat Tuchribi Yossi B'Motzei Shabbat. Now, let's see over here. Amar of Yehuda Meshmuel. Oh, wow. Pause.
מי שגר שם, אני רואה את זה, כן? זה עוד בכוח.
בבעירה של מרים, הגמרא אומרת, יגיע חמה בראש להסתכל מהכרמל.
לא מהכרמל, מההרים של צמליה, נראה כמי קברה בזה היה. אף אחד לא ראה את זה. הראייה שלנו לא טובה. אבל עליה הקדוש אומר איך עליה הקדוש לימד כל הקבלה מהמערכות בשנה ומשהו, זה תורה שנים רבות. אומר בגלל כמה שלוש סיבות. סיבה אחת, בגלל שכונתו היה רשומה גבוהה. סיבה שנייה, המורה הגדול, והשלישית השקע אותו, זה בגלל שמרים. עליה כל כך מצא את זה.
Okay. Back to teaching. Let's go. So the Gemara says, Kochav echad, Amar v'Yehuda Meshmuel, Kochav echad yom. One star, if you see one star, it's day. Shnai, meaning even though one star is visible in twilight, it's still daytime. The first thing is, don't try and do any of this in the city. In Brooklyn, you can't see anything, anytime, you can't see. 45, 50 minutes, you won't see a star. You'll see the North Star and that's all. Because you have light pollution. If you go out of town, in the dark, when you're in China, some remote province, you can look up and check it. Right? Kochav echad yom, or when you're in Texas, maybe one of those places in Texas, Albert. Kochav echad, one star, yom, is daytime. Shnai, when you see, when the sun is set, one star comes out, it's still day. Shnayim, 2 stars is out, ben hashemashot. That's twilight. Shelosha.
Question: when you see one star, you don't know that there's not another star that you haven't spotted it yet.
We're talking someone that knows what he's doing. Shelosha, not a guy like us that we look up once.
You can see one star, you look hard enough to find
When was the last time you looked up? Next question. You looked up what? A couple months ago when you weren't busy, you happened to be outside, you looked on your way home. There's people that spend their weeks looking up. There's guys that tell me, he says, I know where to look for stars. Every night he finds the stars much faster than I do. If you know what you're looking for, you know what to do. That's what he's talking about. People that know. So he says, Kochav echad yom, 1 star is day. Shnayim, 2 stars, ben hashemashot. Shelosha laila, 3 stars is night. I don't know who it sounds like. What?
Because it's so fast.
How do you know how fast it goes?
Because when you see one star,
I would assume it's at 13 and a half minutes.
Let's see. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Lo kochavim gedolim anirim bayom, not the big stars that you see in the day, v'lo kochavim ketanim she'enam nirim ela balayla, and not the small stars that you can only see at night, ela benonim, medium stars. Now, some planets you see in the day. So that's why I understand. The moon, they consider, in certain terms, they call it a star, koch velechet. So the moon is not, because you see the moon in the day. But maybe it also means there's bigger stars, like the North Star comes out very fast. That's already considered, still considered daytime. So it's not clear exactly what I mean. If you go back to Tosafot on Amud Aleph, in the middle of the Tosfot, it says, Aval Temelari, Demai Pligi. What's this mahloket? 13 minutes, 12 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever it is, Rabbi Yossi. Vaday misha'at yitziat kochavim avalayla. If you see 3 stars, it's nighttime. What's so complicated? V'yesh lomar, the amrinan lekaman, lo gedulim manirim bayom, not the big ones that you see in the day. V'lo ketanim, ela benonim. V'hashta pligi, the mahloket is like this. Rabbi Yehuda misaf kelei. Rabbi Yehuda is not sure. Bekol kochavim anirim mishkiat ha'hama. Ad shechsif elyon emhem benonim. Rabbi Yehuda, up until the time that the bottom gets dark, until the top gets dark, he's not sure. Maybe are those benonim, or maybe they're considered gedolim. That's all. So I mean, the question is, how do you grade the stars? That's what they're arguing on. Ve'od kasher, the nechzi anan be'adam benoni, sheyelech mitchilat shkiat ha'hama, daled milim, yesh lomad demesafke lehumay adam benoni. Now, we're missing another part in Tosfot. Tosafot, in our Gemara, it seems very clear that shloshet rev'ei mil, 3/4 of a meal, should make it nighttime. The most. 13 and a half minutes. 18 minutes. 18 minutes should be the most that it should take to see 3 stars. V'ha'uvda, we don't see that. Not here.
I don't understand. 3 stars, it's night.
3 stars is night. That's one. One second. That's what we said. That's what we just said now. But 1 second.
3 big stars
is not night. Good. Now, there's another Gemara. The beginning Gemara said it takes 3/4 of a meal. A meal is 18 minutes or 24 minutes. 3/4 of that is either 13 and a half or 18 minutes is night. We don't see stars then. Not here and not in Texas. So what's going on? So, besides for that, there's another problem. Tosafot says, there's a Gemara in Masechet Pesachim that says, from Alot HaShahar, Tetzeta Kochavi, from Alot HaShahar, from dawn until sunrise, takes 4 meal. Let's assume it's 72 minutes.
4 meals?
Meal, the amount of time it takes you to walk a meal. That's a Roman mile. Yeah? How long does it take the average person to walk a meal? We assume it's 18 minutes.
I don't understand. They didn't have time at the time?
They didn't, that's the way they classified. Meal. There was no standard minutes or anything. We wanted to talk about meal, the time it takes to walk that amount. So 4 meal, let's leave it. Not for now. 4 meal. We got too much to talk, put on the plate today. 4 meal is 72 minutes. It takes, the Gemara says, from Shkiyat HaHama Tetzet HaKochavim, from Shkiyat HaHama Tetzet HaKochavim, 4 meal is 72 minutes. What's going on? Our Gemara said Tetzet HaKochavim is 13 and a half minutes after Shkiyah. The Gemara over there says that from Shkiyat HaHama Tetzet HaKochavim is 72 minutes. We have a 58 and a half minute discrepancy. Problem. Right? What do you mean? Is it 13 minutes or is it 50? Is it 72 minutes? So that's the question. So Rabbeinu Tam says, this is the famous. So you look in Tosfot. Let's see. Kasher. Amud Aleph. Kasher. Dahacha ma'ashma de mishkiyat hama ad alayla leke eletre tlata reve meal. There's only 3/4 of a meal, meaning 13 and a half minutes. V'Rabbi Yehuda gufa bepsachim. בפרק מי שהיה טמא, סבר דמשקיעת החמה צאת הכוכבים 4 מילין, 4 meal, which is 72 minutes. וצאת הכוכבים, לילה הוא צאת הכוכבים is night. כדאמרינה בראש פרק חמת הפסחים, וכדמו חקרה, ואנחנו עושים במלאכה, דמיני נפקק בפרק בית מגילה, דמעלות השחר יממהו. ואומר רבנו תם, this is the famous, I wait רבנו תם, this is it. דהתם, מיירי בתחילת שקיעה, והכה מי שתשקע מסוף שקיעה, אחר שנכנסה חמה בעובי הרקיע. So Rabbeinu Tam says like this. Two shkiot. The first shkia is when the visible shkia, when I see the sun go down past the horizon.
It's still red.
Forget red. I see the sun go down. That's the visible shkia. But there's a certain amount of an angle that the sun is still shooting light directly into the atmosphere. And after you go past that angle, right, then you only get a refraction of sun. So that when it goes past that second angle, that's the second shkia. Rabbeinu Tam holds that when the Gemara in Pesachim is saying from Shkiyat HaHama is 72 minutes, that's from the first sunset, from the visible sunset. And when the Gemara over here says, the Gemara over here is clear that we're not talking about when the sun goes down, it starts. So the Gemara over here says that from the second Shki'ah it starts, that's from that second, the invisible sunset. When the sun goes past the window where it shines into the world. How long after the first sunset is the second sunset? 58 and a half minutes. So according to Rabbeinu Tam, after sunset, technically it's daytime. Friday night, you're coming home, it's late, keep driving. 58 and a half minutes. You want to know why the Chassidim are praying mincha?
At midnight, yeah.
Not midnight, but 58 and a half minutes. Their 13 and a half is 58, it's 72. Right. Right, they never pray. That's why.
They're not allowed to.
Right.
They look at you like you're...
Yeah, you're crazy.
Right. So that's Rabbeinu Tam Shita. The question is, those that don't hold like Rabbeinu Tam, the Rambam doesn't quote anything. The Geonim, the Maharam al-Shakar quotes that they never went like Rabbeinu Tam. He disproves Rabbeinu Tam. So the Gaon Vilna says it, and it's based on earlier rabbis, that the Geonim hold, not that there's 2 shkiyas, that there's 2 tzet kochavim. What do I mean? I'll explain. It's a beautiful piece. When we say that from Alot HaShahar until Netz HaHama is 72 minutes. What's Alot HaShahar? Alot HaShahar, dawn, is the first light. At the first light, how many stars are out? All the stars. All the stars, right? Then the first light comes in, slowly the stars go away, right? I get to sunrise, I don't see stars anymore, right? So that's alot hashachar. Now, what do I need to be night? How many stars? 3. 3 could be a couple more because some of them are not eligible, but I don't need all the stars. So the Gaon says, he says, when you're going from Shiyat to Hama, I don't need to get till all the stars are out. I only need 13 and a half minutes till I'll get the 3 stars that I need. The 5th, when the Gemara in Pesachim says that there's 72 minutes till Tzete Kochavim, it wasn't talking in halacha. It was talking parallel to Alot HaShachar, which is when all the stars are out. It takes another 72 and a half minutes, 72 minutes, till all the stars come out. But don't bring that up to halacha. Has nothing to do with halacha. That Gemara is not a halachic Gemara. That's a scientific Gemara. Our Gemara, on the other hand, is a halachic Gemara. Halachically, all I need is 3 stars. The Rambam. Now, Maran and Shulchan Aruch.
You guys wait for.
We don't wait for him.
Benutam.
We don't wait.
It's a Shabbat.
Now, it's not true. I don't wait 72 minutes. Maran, Jack, if you open up Shulchan Aruch in Siman Resh Samach Aleph, Maran says that Shabbat starts Rabbeinu Tam. Open Resh Samach. Maran says you could do melacha after sunset for 58 and a half minutes. And Maran openly.
Don't tell Ezra.
Now, the Ma'aseh, the Mishnah Berurah says you have to be mahmir. A lot of Rishonim are mahmir. The minhag of the Sfaradim, b'chol mekomotehem, was not like Rabbeinu Tam. Was like the Geonim. In Halab, there was one period in Halab where Rabbi Shmuel and Yaro enforced Rabbeinu Tam on Motzei Shabbat. All the time. And he, not only that, they used to fast Shovavim, and he used to make them fast Shovavim even Friday night till Rabbeinu Tam. But that was one time. After that, it went back to the minhag like the Geonim. That's the old minhag before Maran. That's why we don't follow Maran. Even Chamovadia, who yells that you have to follow Rabbeinu Tam, even he admits that it's not halacha. Because if a baby is born, Chamovadia holds 20 minutes after sunset in Yerushalayim, make the Milah on Shabbat. According to Rabbeinu Tam, that Milah is on Friday. Friday. And that's that. The question is over here. So Jack wants to know, why do I wait 50 minutes? Why do I wait 50 minutes? Why do we wait 40 minutes in the shul? Right. The answer is because there's no stars. At 13 minutes, go find the star. 1 second. Go find the star. So why not? Because we're at a different latitude. Right? Okay.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, the latitude twilight after sunset and before sunrise is heavily influenced by the latitude of the observer.
Right, that's what I just said.
Arctic and Antarctic regions, twilight, if there is any, can last for several hours.
We know that.
There is no civil twilight at the poles within a month on either side
of the solstice. Right. Okay.
At the poles, civil twilight can be as long as 2 weeks.
Okay.
The equator conditions can go from day to night in as little as 20 minutes.
Good. That's what I want, 20 minutes. Okay. But what they're considering night and what I'm considering night is different because I only need 3 stars. And they're talking more than that. So that's the criteria of what you're considering night is different. But that's exactly what I just said. Hazal Baruch.
What's the math to 50?
We're in full agreement. What?
What's the math to 50?
Well, I don't have a good math. It's just that's more or less really on a fast day we'll go to 40 because we found stars at 40.
So for the people
at 40. But for Shabbat, so we're mumahmir. Maran says you need ketanim, you need this. Shabbat you have to be mumahmir.
How much extra are they really waiting?
What do you mean?
For the let's say Shabbat ends this week, what, 5:30, no?
No, whatever, yeah.
Okay, so Rabbeinu Tam is how much more extra?
Rabbeinu Tam is either 72 minutes or 72 variable minutes, depending. But Rabbeinu Tam is at least 72 minutes.
But practically,
I know the picture. I know the picture. I've been through this many times.
But practically, how many more minutes is it?
So it's between 22, 32, depending how much you're waiting. Some people wait 40 minutes, so the Rabbeinu Tam is 32 minutes extra. Wait 50 minutes, it's 22 minutes extra. Okay, we have a whole nother side of the page to go through. Tana Rabbana, so the Gemara says, Amar lei Rabba l'shameh. Rabba told his assistant, Atun, you, the lo kim lechu b'shi'urad Rabbanan, that you don't know how to figure out when Ben HaShemashot starts. Well, it's so hard. Look at the sun. Ad Shimsha Aresh Dikle. When you see the sun on top of the trees, Atlu Sharga, light your candles. If it's cloudy and you can't see, then have clocks. What should you do? Bimata in the city, hazi tarnegola. Look at the chickens. The chickens in the day, they sit on the beam. Once the sun sets, without a clock, they go on the floor. Check your chickens. If you don't have a clock, buy a chicken. Right? Bidabra, if you're in the field and you don't have chickens. Orve, look at the ravens. I guess they do something similar to that. Inami adane. Rashi says adane is a type of leaf that tracks the sun. So when it gets to the west, it's time to It's time to light candles. Tana Rabbanan. Shesh teki'ot tokim erev Shabbat. They used to blow in Jewish towns 6 blows of the shofar on Friday in order to take the people away from working. Tell everybody it's time to come home. Right?
Now we have the Hatzalah siren.
Now we have that Salah Shayim. Let's see. Mimlacha. Shibisad Rishon, now the first one. Lahavtila ta'am mimlacha shibisadot. The first one is for the people that work in the field. It takes them time to come in, so they will blow the shofar. They have to start coming in. Shniya, the second one. Lahavtil ir v'hanuyot. For the people in the city, the people working in stores. Shilishi, the third one. Ladlik etaner. It's time to light candles. Now it doesn't mean that they blew 2. The first one they blew an hour before. The second one they blew 20 minutes before. The third one, let's say 10 minutes before. Or something along those lines.
The first one is an hour?
I don't know. I'm making up times. Doesn't say. I guess it was whatever the rabbis of the town felt was the right amount of time to get home and get ready for Shabbat and be able to be ready. Shalishit la. Right? Divrei Rabbi Natan. Rabbi Yudan Nasi Omer, no. Shilishi, the third one, lahlot tefillin. They used to wear tefillin all day. So the third one, take off your tefillin. And Rashi says that the fourth one, according to him, is to light candles. V'shoheh, you take time. Kedeh tziliyat dag katan, the amount of time it takes to fry a small fish. Or kedeh ladbik pat betanur, or to stick your bread into the oven. V'tokeya umeria v'tokeya. He blows tekiah, teruah, tekiah. V'shovet. And then he stops. Then it's Shabbat. Everybody must accept Shabbat. Then I don't care what you're doing. I don't care. You're middle shaving. At that point, it's Shabbat. When he blows the third Tekiah. You see from here that, and this is brought down in Shulchan Aruch legabe other things, but the Kabbalat Shabbat of the Tzibur, of the community, forces you to accept Shabbat at that point. If everybody's accepting Shabbat, well, hard to say, but if you would be in a small town with one minyan, in theory, when they say Barechu, it's Shabbat for everybody.
How do they blow the shofar?
Yeah.
Right before Shabbat. That's when it ends. So he's still holding the shofar.
Okay, wait, the Gemara is going to talk about. Very good. Right, he says the Gemara, Amar Ashbag, Ma na'aseh lahem lebavliim. What should we do for the Babylonians? Shetokim umiri'im. They blow a tiki'ah, then they blow a tiru'ah. V'shovti mitoch miri'im. And they start Shabbat not from the last tiki'ah, but from a tiru'ah. So 1 second. Tokim umiri'im. Havulu hamishat. Then they only have 5 blows. And the halakha is you need 6. Ela, the Bavlim, they flipped it. Shetokim, v'chozrim v'tokim. So the Bavlim, when they start the last 3, they blow a tiki'ah. Then they blow another tiki'ah, and then they blow a tiru'ah. Everything crooked, right? You can tell, you're picking on the Bavlim. One second, wait, we're not ready yet. We got to get to the end of the page. You ask me questions later. V'tokim u'miri'im, v'shovti mitoch miri'im. And they stop from the miri'im. Fine, minhag avotem b'dim, that's the minhag. What are we going to do? We can't change them to do things right. Matni le Rav Yehuda le Rav Yitzchak bere. Rav Yehuda taught his son Rav Yitzchak. Shniya ladlik etaner. The second one, you light the candles. Says Gemara, what kind of bright is that? Come on. Lo Rabbi Natan, who says it's the third one. V'lo Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who says it's the fourth one. Ela shilishit ladlik etaner. It has to be the third one to light the candles. Come on, Rabbi Natan, like Rabbi Natan. Tana deber Rabbi Ishmael. Shesh tekiyot tokim erev Shabbat. Hitchil etchot tekiyah rishona. When he starts blowing the first blow, nimne'u ha'omdim basadeh mila ador mila harosh mila asot kol melacha shebesadot. Everybody stops working at the same time. Now watch. Ve'en ha'keruvim rasha'im likanes ad shavor rechokim v'yikanesu kulam kehad. The people that work closer to the city have to stop working and wait there. Why? So that the further people can come in, they'll come in together. Why? Because if the closer people come in earlier, the people will think they stopped working first. And when the later guys come in, they'll think, oh, they didn't stop right away. People, it will look like people ignore the shofar. So we blow the shofar, everybody stops, and then everybody comes in together. So it's obvious that everybody listens to the shofar the same way. Stores allowed to be open. V'trisim munachim. At the trisim, they had like shutters that they would put down and display the merchandise on. So the trisim are down. They're laying down with the merchandise on them. When he starts blowing the second one, they take away the trisim. V'nin alim hanuyot, and you lock up the stores. V'adayin hamin munachim al gabe kira. The hot water is on the oven. V'kiderot munachot al gabe kira. And the pots are on the oven. He started blowing the third one, which is when you're supposed to light the candles according to Rabbi Natan. Silek hamisalek, you took your pot off. Atmin hamatmin, then if you want to make hatmana, you put it in the hatmana. V'edlik hamadlik, and you lit your candles. V'shoheh kedeh siliyat dag katan. The guy blowing the shofar, he waits enough time to roast a small fish. O kedeh ladbik pat betanur. V'tokea umeria v'tokea v'shovet. He blows tikiyah Torah tikiyah and he stops. Am Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Hanina, Shamati, I heard, she'im ba ladlik ahar shesh tikiyot madlik, that if he wants to light right after the 3 tikiyot, he could still light. Now you don't have 18 minutes, but you have a small amount of time. If you scooch it in, you got it. Why? Share natnu hachamim shi'ur lehazana keneset. They told him, they built in a leeway for the guy to take his shofar home.
Only him or everybody else?
Meaning, as soon as you blow the third tikiyah, the last 6th one, you have a minute and a half.
Not only him.
Everybody.
Because of him. No.
Right. Because of him. Says the Gemara. Because they couldn't make it that the Shabbat starts right away. Why? Because what's he going to do with the shofar? You hear Abi, the Gemara's bar with your problem. The Gemara says it must be that after the last blow, you still have a small amount of time to light candles. Why? Because he has the shofar in his hand. He has to take it home. So it must be that they gave him time to take it home.
He has to light candles too.
No, he lit candles already. Or his wife lights candles, whatever it is. But he has the shofar in his hand. He has to take it home. Says the Gemara.
Take it home because obviously he's not blowing it in a balcony. He's blowing it outside.
He's blowing it up on the roof. Somebody's roof. Okay. Says the Gemara. Amar lo imken natata dvarech l'shiurim. But you got one guy, he lives next door. The other guy lives down the block. The other guy lives across the street. He lives in another neighborhood. Nobody knows how long it is. It's not going to work. People say, yeah, we have 3 minutes, 5 minutes. It's crazy. Nobody.
Shofar. How many people could hear shofar?
Oh, depends who's blowing. Let's see. That was what they had. That was what they blew. They didn't have a siren there.
But there had to be different people in different locations.
Towns were small. Maybe I assume towns were small. Let's go.
Come on, it's a 2-block radius. That's all it is.
Maybe we'll get you a good shofar. You go on your roof and blow, and let me know how many people come to complain. Try that 12 o'clock at night. Amru lo right? You don't know how long it is. Ela makom tzanua yesh lo lahazana kenese berosh gago. They made him a little cabinet on the top of the roof. Shesham eniach shofaro. That's where he leaves the shofar. Lefi she'em metaltelim lo et hashofar v'lo et hachatzot. You're not allowed to carry a shofar or hatzotzerot on Shabbat because it's muktzeh. And tomorrow we'll continue with the rest of that piece. Baruch Adonai le'olam amen. What was the rest of your question, Abi?